With the ever-intense climate of politics, the stakes for this year's May 2022 elections are at its highest. It features the intense rivalry of Marcos Robredo, along with the rise of new candidates such as Caliotti and Isko Moreno. For anyone who's voting this year, it is indeed a tough decision.
The main difference of this election from previous elections is that this is the first time that we're having a true social media election, meaning elections will be hugely impacted by the presence of social media.
With more users registering daily, the country faces a higher risk of misinformation and toxicity. This has caused feuds and fights amongst friends and has even caused some misunderstandings within families.
Vote buying has also become ever so clear now that people have begun posting about it online. This has become a threat to our democracy, as people are willing to sell away their rights to vote if it means they receive money. This will become an excuse for them to be ignorant of cheating in the elections.
Politics pose a challenge to the citizens, adults, and youths included, so it must be emphasized the importance of being up to date with events in our country. To be apolitical is to be on the side of the oppressors. We must not only try to rid the political climate of ignorance and enablers, but to urge someone to fight for what is right. Candidates have depended more on social media for their campaigns because of the COVID-19 outbreak, while voters have resorted to these apps for news and election-related information.
As we can see, misinformation is rampant. While earlier elections focused more on candidates and parties, it is apparent that misinformation will now affect other areas of the voting process. It will raise doubts about the election results and may discourage voters from casting ballots on the election day.
Social media worsens the toxic nature of electoral campaigns. The pernicious division between the Marcos and Robredo camps will inevitably influence the 2022 election campaign. Because of its ability to quickly transmit information, indeed, social media has been an effective communication tool during the pandemic. Despite the spread of fake news and toxicity, we must uphold our dignity by always fighting for what is right.
We have the power to educate whomever we can reach out to in order to combat this situation as Filipinos. Our voices will serve as a symbol of hope for a better future for ourselves and our country.
Vote buying has been a problem in the Philippines even before this most recent election. Politicians take advantage of the poor, promising a reward if they are voted, removing the very freedom gifted to us by our ancestors and those before us who fought for our country's independence.
One must remember that the more a politician spends in campaigning, the more they'll take back once they're in power. All the ayuda supposedly in good faith, all the vote buying, will eventually come back to bite the regular Filipino citizen.
Furthermore, we can see electoral fraud being rampant, especially in our country today, as the 2022 elections approach. Rumors of pre-shaded ballots and ballots without certain candidates are rampant and spread throughout the internet in Filipino diaspora communities such as Canada and New Zealand.
In this coming election, we must be vigilant and act accordingly in order to prevent this from happening. It's happened before, let's not let it happen again. Especially in this extremely dire situation that we are currently facing.
Being apolitical amidst the election can be difficult. Apoliticality means being politically neutral, which can be a challenge. Aristotle said himself that society cannot be politically neutral. After all, we are run by politics. Political views are something one must be cautious about. Take, for example, the views of the presidential candidates today. Instead of respecting people's opinions about their candidate, some choose to discriminate against them or even urge them to vote on their side.
But how can we really be apolitical? It's true that it can be difficult to be one, but it is not impossible.
We could start by being open-minded and accepting other people's beliefs. Each person has their own views, beliefs, and morals on politics. We should at the very least respect it.
We should also be impartial and view this from a more unbiased perspective. It is important to be neutral to subjects that are sensitive to everyone because you don't know if you're already hurting people.
Over the past 13 years, the conflict between the Philippines and China has grown more tense as China continuously asserts its claims over the South China Sea. But what led us here in the first place, and how is it going?
Chinese vessels evicted Filipino fishermen from Scarborough Shoal, an area where they had traditionally fished. In April 2012, after China built a physical barrier across the shoal's entrance to prohibit Philippine vessels from coming anywhere near it.
President Duterte tried to rekindle good relations with China. However, China has never produced the expected results and continued its assertiveness over the disputed islands and reefs over the EEZ of the Philippines.
With China continuing to refuse while forcibly establishing itself in the Philippines EEZ, the Philippines face a potential issue, which could also figure in the campaign of the upcoming 2021 presidential elections.
This year's elections will prove to be a catalyst for either a great future or one that will lead to ruins.
It is up to us, the youth, the current voters, and the future voters, to be vigilant and act with integrity and honesty.
We must vote for someone who we believe will be able to lead us in the right direction.
We must vote for someone who has the integrity and the capacity to serve the Filipino people.
We must not vote for someone because of their family ties, nor should we vote for someone out of pride and blind loyalty.
We must exercise due diligence in this coming election as we run the risk of facing a crisis otherwise.
Vote wise, vote right.
Stay safe and good luck.
May God bless us all.
And may the Philippines continue to persevere as we find ourselves a leader that can bring us to even greater heights.
I am Raiza Baban.
I am Mary Denise Bote.
I am Tyrese James B. Martin.
I am Sebastien Perry Orcullo.
And I am Benedict Santiago. Maraming salamat sa pagtindig.